This is NewsBreak26 in Southwest New Brunswick. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Here's what's happening in our part of the world. We begin with the latest on a developing story involving anti-whaling activist Paul Watson, who grew up in St. Andrews. Watson, founder of Sea Shepherd Conservation Society and co-founder of Greenpeace, was arrested in Greenland in July after Japan issued an international warrant. Japan is seeking his extradition over a 2010 incident with a Japanese whaling vessel in the Antarctic. Watson's supporters, including prominent figures like Dr. Jane Goodall and Danish supermodel Helena Christensen, are calling for his release. Many supporters believe the arrest was politically motivated due to Japan's controversial whaling practices. Watson was scheduled to appear in court in Greenland last Wednesday, leading his sister to organize a rally in St. Andrews Market Square, calling on the federal government to intervene. His hearing has now been postponed until November 13th. Watson could face up to 15 years in prison if extradited. CHCO reached out to Global Affairs Canada to ask if the Canadian government intends to intervene, and were told, quote, Global Affairs Canada is aware of the detention of a Canadian citizen in Greenland. Canadian officials are in contact with the individual and are providing consular services. Due to the provisions of the Privacy Act, no further information can be disclosed. Watson has also appealed to French President Emmanuel Macron for political asylum in France. We'll continue to follow this story. In St. Andrews, concerns over speeding have prompted Town Council to consider new measures for improving road safety. CHCO's Nathalie Sturgeon has more.
Staff from the town of St. Andrews say a recent speed trap showed about 30% of cars coming into town were going 10 kilometers over the speed limit. It was also placed on two other high-traffic roads in the community.
Understanding that Parr and Montague Street didn't show the same results, in my humble opinion, I think part of that is because it's visible. You could see it, and you can see it from a distance. So people were slowing down with other vehicles, traffic coming in.
Staff suggest adding more stop signs. One intersection leading into town is being described as tricky.
The way people come around that three-way stop, coming up this up Reed, people are picking up speed. So it's one of those aspects of a safety that we could look at to making that a four-way stop.
Council debated the solutions thoroughly, with Councillor Jamie Hurdle suggesting even lowering the speed limits.
Talking about the perception of speed, and I think that you're right. People think people are speeding, but there might not be. But I think that comes from the fact that most people, or many people, think 50 kilometers an hour is too fast.
Meanwhile, Councillor Lee Heenan suggests a traffic light, which was ultimately not supported by Council. Mayor Brad Henderson says he thinks adding more stop signs forces people to be conscious of their speed and never really allows them to get up to speed. Any decision that council makes about adding more stop signs, lowering the speed limit, or changing the pattern of the intersection behind me will ultimately have to come before the public for consultation. Vicki?
Thanks, Nathalie. That was CHCO's Nathalie Sturgeon in St. Andrews. Finally, the Milltown Activities Group hosted its inaugural Witches Walk on Saturday, marking a spirited start to the Halloween season. More than 60 participants dressed as witches, warlocks, and spellcasters gathered at the historic Milltown bandstand before setting off on a festive walk through the community.
We have a small committee, but our strive is to bring the morale up in Milltown, which it'll always be Milltown to us, but we know we are amalgamated, we're St. Stephen. But Milltown holds a special spot, like I said, in our hearts.
The Milltown Activities Group also plans to bring a Remembrance Day service back to the Milltown Cenotaph this November. That's all the news I have for you. For more stories and online exclusives, follow me, Vicki Hogarth, on Facebook, and visit CHCO and the Courier online at CHCO.TV.
A news and public affairs production of CHCO-TV, New Brunswick's only source for independent community television.